Hi everyone. This time I want to talk about the parable of the marriage feast from Matthew 22. The kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged a marriage for his son and sent out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding, and they were not willing to come. Again he sent out other servants, saying, "Tell those who are invited, 'See, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and fatted cattle are killed, and all things are ready. Come to the wedding.'" So this is a pretty transparent parable. The king is God, the son is Jesus, the servants are the prophets, and those who are invited to the wedding, those are particularly the Jewish nation, the Israelites. They're the ones who God has made promises to, who God promised the Messiah to, that he would establish the throne of David, many other promises. And God invites them again and again, saying, "I will bless you if you will obey me. I will bring you abundance if you will obey me." But they were not willing. We see again and again the Israelites didn't pay attention to the prophets, and even as Jesus points out, they made light of it, went their own ways, one to his own farm, another to his business, and the rest seized his servants, treated them spitefully, and killed them. But when the king heard about it, he was furious, and he sent out his armies, destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. So not only were the prophets ignored, that the people didn't change their ways, generally speaking, they actually attacked the prophets and killed them. So Jesus is being pretty transparent with this parable. And he's also saying, the king heard about it, he was furious, he sent out his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city. He actually did that twice. He did that before Israel was deported to Babylon. And then in 70 AD, he did it again. But continuing the parable, then he said to his servants, "The wedding is ready, but those who are invited were not worthy. Therefore go into the highways, and as many as you find, invite to the wedding." So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all who they found, both bad and good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. And so this is the part where we come in. Those who were not originally invited, we're the bad apples. We're the people whose backgrounds do not give us the right to be at this banquet. We're people who have not lived good lives. It says both good and bad. So whether we've walked with God for 20 years or we've lived in debauchery for 20 years, both good and bad, Jesus is saying, respond to the call. Gather these people in and let them participate in this marriage feast. And the wedding hall was filled with guests. So we're seeing that God is sending out this big generic welcoming in, saying, "Join me at this wedding feast. This is a great thing, and I want you all to be a part of it." But there is a catch, or not a catch, I would say, but there are some requirements. We see that in the next part. "But when the king came in to see the guests, he saw a man there who did not have a wedding garment. And so he said to him, 'Friend, how did you come here without a wedding garment?' And he was speechless. And the king said to the servants, 'Bind him hand and foot, take him away, cast him into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen.'" So we see that God's actually being consistent here. Earlier, we saw that those who are invited, who were not worthy, they ignored the prophets or they persecuted the prophets. And here we see again God pointing out, just because you were invited in off the street, you still have to prepare. You still have to wear a wedding garment. Whether you're good or bad, you need that wedding garment. And what is that wedding garment? What is it that these participants in the great marriage feast of God need to have? So let's take a look at that. What is this wedding feast? Well, the answer is found in Revelation 19 and 20. And a lot of Christians are going to be uncomfortable with this. And you read it for yourself. Read Revelation 19 and 20. It describes it very well. It's a plain continuation of this parable. But from Revelation, we learn that the prerequisite is good works. That the wedding garment is good works. So Jesus is saying in the parable, and we see this in the other parables surrounding this marriage feast parable, and in a lot of his other talks, he's saying, you guys need to prepare, and you guys need good works. You need to be loving your neighbor. You need to be using the stewardship of God rightly. You need to be caring for the poor. Even we see that with John the Baptist. But quickly, let's go through some applications. Treat God's call seriously. The Israelites made light of it, and frankly, the person who didn't come in with a wedding garment, who didn't prepare himself and do good works, also made light of it. So we don't want to be in that position. We want to treat God's call seriously. That God wants us to be able to participate in this great joyous event, but we're not going to be able to participate if we don't prepare ourselves. Realize that God calls everyone regardless of background. So he says both good and bad. So God's making no distinction. There's no partiality. There's no background check. It's based on hear God's call and obey it. It doesn't matter what baggage you have. Hear God's call and obey it. And how do we obey? What are we obeying? It's good works. We don't want to be cast out into outer darkness with weeping and gnashing of teeth, realizing that we have missed out on God's generosity, missed out on God's great rewards that he has on us because we did not prepare. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys this week. Hope it was encouraging, and I do encourage you guys, be prepared. Jesus is coming back, and in order to really get the full measure of what God has for us, we have to be prepared. We have to be doing good works. Thank you.